it'll turn out okay for you. And we've done it both ways. Actually, we've done it mostly the other way. We've done it where we've had to fix them up, but we've not pulled any, cut any corners or anything, and made sure that was done right. Most people want a return on investment. What's a return on investment? What does that mean? ROI.
How much money you get back for your money?
Okay, I looked it up. You're right, but I looked it up. It's the net profit versus cost of your investment times 100, and that's not what I had, Daniel. Divided by 100. Anyway, that's not what I had. I wrote it so I can remember it, but now it's different. But either way, your investment is your property and what you have to put into your property. Okay, and then your ROI is your return on how much you've had to put into the property. It can be ongoing, or it can be like a flip. If it's a flip, then you know immediately how much money you got back out of your investment. If it's ongoing, then you factor in your number of things, costs like the purchase price, the repairs and landscaping, getting the property rent ready, and then once you get it all figured out, then you'll want to see how much it costs you every month and compare that to how much you get as an income. So what are the incomes? Rental income. You can use some strategy on your incomes a lot of times. Jennifer is really good on strategies. We've had properties and we share clients that have had, for instance, a garage or a storage unit that wasn't attached to the building. And we've rented the property out because the value was the same with or without the garage. And then sometimes we've had to fix up the garage or something, and then we've been able to rent out the garage as a separate storage unit or something like that. So you can use strategies to increase your income on your investment. What do you lose on a flip?
The increase that it would get.
The increase you may get down the road. So that airline comes in and 5 more airlines come in, and you've got a piece of property that you flipped and you made pretty good money, but you kick yourself because they had to do some infrastructure and build something really, do a lot of building, and so the values went that much higher. So you need to keep that in mind as well. Another thing, a big thing, is targeting the right tenants. When you're deciding what you're going to do, whether you're going to buy it for you're buying it for yourself. So how much pain and sorrow and suffering do you want? Do you want it like me and my wife had when we had to live in it, the fourplexes? Or do you want something not quite as bad? And you want to look at that too. Along with your ROI, you want to see what kind of tenants would be interested in your property. So the number one thing is screening. And pay attention to potential flags. Every person in here can think somebody would be great and find out later that there was a flag that I should have picked up on. And that's happened.
A red flag?
A red flag, exactly. That we picked up on, or maybe we haven't done as much as we should have. We haven't taken that extra phone call when we were just satisfied with one. That we should have gone the extra mile and made sure. Because it costs you way more in the long run than it would have cost us for that one extra phone call.
Do you look at credit ratings and bankruptcies?
Yes. Now, there are some regulations, and you need to find out. This is why we have Ray here. You can't. You are allowed to look at credit ratings, but you have to have a standard. So if my company has a standard of 600, well, we're going to have 2 different types of properties. We have fourplexes, and we have big mansions, and we have to be the same across the board unless we disclose it in the marketing. But it's just best to be the same across the board. always the same. Because then nobody can ever come back and say that you're being
Discriminate.
prejudiced for some reason. Okay? So, what you asked me, about, doing the credit, and what else?
Bankruptcies?
Oh, bankruptcies. Bankruptcies, I would check with our attorney to see what, if it was a recent bankruptcy, yeah, you could deny them. But I would, if it was an older one, I would check and see, and look at the whole picture, you know, and I'd check with an attorney and make sure it's covered.
Yeah, if we advertise on our listings, no bankruptcies in the last 10 years, or that can be a reason why we would disqualify you. But we really go into depth and if they did have one, see how long ago it was, why it happened. And, you know, most of the time we do an adverse action, so they won't be approved under the normal screening criteria, but will require a higher deposit or something. It's just not an immediate, no,
Yeah.
we're not gonna budge on it because you had one. We always look into it.
Is that usually something that all the property management companies do? Put a clause like that in there?
I can't tell you about other people,
Oh, okay.
other companies.
Yeah.
Maybe some do, I'm sure some do, maybe some don't. And then a lot of times the owner's in on the decision.
Mm.
You know, we don't leave them high and dry,
Yeah.
wondering.
We'll let one of our client owners know if for some reason the tenant doesn't qualify under our marketed screening criteria. We'll say, and they just have one strike, and it's really not that bad. We'll let the owner know, hey, here's our recommendation. They're flying colors in these areas. This is their one bad strike. What's your decision? Here's our recommendation.
And another example would be, not with bankruptcy, but I had a guy came up just as soon as one of my properties came up, and he forwarded with me, told me that he had just gone through a bad divorce. He didn't have anything, but he was a surveyor. And this guy, you could tell, was a real go-getter. And I said, I'm renting to him. He was in our place for, 10 years? 10, 12 years. Never had a problem with the rent. So,
Yeah.
you know, but that's kind of a,
And we agree with you. You
Yeah.
know, people aren't perfect. My wife will tell you that I'm far from perfect, right? So people aren't perfect, but there are people out there who have a tendency to kind of be on the bad side a lot,
right.
and those are the ones that you really want to be careful with.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Oh, I passed. I didn't. Okay, good. I'm dead next. Oh yeah, another thing too. Targeting the right tenants, screening. Fair market value brings good tenants. Why does fair market value bring good tenants?
Gives you more good people to pick from too.
Yep.
Okay. Gosh, I'm really messing up here. I'm gonna quit playing around with my fingers. Okay. Go back to where we were, because that was an interesting conversation. Fair market value brings good tenants. Why? Well, for one thing, smart tenants, if they work at Boeing or Microsoft or wherever, smart tenants pretty well know what I know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can look it up too. They can do somewhat of a RMA, a rental analysis, you know. So they would have an idea. How come you're renting it too high? You know, I don't want to rent it if it's going to be way higher than the market value.
No.
So what happens when you try and rent it too high?
Stays vacant.
Yeah.
It stays vacant. You lose money when you're vacant,
Mhm.
right? What else?
Well, what happened to me my very first time I rented something on my own, it was a large house, and so the people that really were wanting it to pay what I was offering it for was like a young woman who had a baby with some young man that wasn't in the picture, but she had the boyfriend, and he was going to be living there too, and then she had a friend, and she was going to help pay the rent. And so I end up, they move in, my house gets trashed, I have to evict them.
You end up with this big convoluted thing, and plus, if they're willing to pay a rent that's higher than what they can up the street, why?
Mm-hmm.
Why are there? Yeah.
They're desperate, and I was the only one naive enough to rent to them.
What happens if your rent's too low? You get rented quicker.
Yeah. Lower quality.
Undesirables.
Kind of people.
All right, the smart people are wondering, how come it's so low?
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Problems.
If you do get a good renter, and you're low, you've lost
Better than that.
however much per month. You could have rented it if you had rented it market value. Okay, you want to keep it up. A well-kept and updated property is very important. It makes the tenant happy. Quick and efficient maintenance makes the tenant happy. And there sometimes, I'll tell you, disgruntled tenants can be very, very costly. So, which brings me to the end of what. So, what kind of tenants do you want to attract? If your house looks like that, I think that's the kind of tenant you're going to be attracting, right? So, okay. The next part would be for Jennifer, and Jennifer and I. 4 years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, we met and we had a conversation, and
It was a grill session.
it was a grill section. When I left, I wasn't sure that I felt very well, but she seemed to be positive, and we've been friends and we've been partners. I would say not business partners, but we partner with our clients. So I'm going to give.
Well, I'm going to expect you guys to read that tiny little text. So while you guys are getting that set up, really, I guess, quick background on me. So I've been in real estate land pretty much since 2007 when I bought my first house when I was 21 years old. I thought it was a brilliant idea.